I had a conversation with one of my friends just yesterday. I don't know, maybe an hour. We talked about pushing hard when it came to dreams and goals. And one of the questions he asked, I even joked about this with her, and I told her, it was almost like I felt like I was in the Jedi Temple because every time I say something, she say something else, and her query would be something along the lines of, "But does it make you happy?" And then you find meaning in it, and I was like, "Yeah, and I say, "Yeah, it sounds like duh, but the whole point's that not everybody that operates from a push pedal to the metal perspective ends up finding joy in what they do. I do most of the time. I'd say well over 90% of the time, which is why it's easy for me to stay focused and continue steamrolling through work, whether it's actual work, if it's fulfilling, or whether it's writing, which is even more fulfilling and fun. It doesn't matter. But the ultimate point of this video is that if you're not finding that it inspires you, then you might want to rethink your approach, because I think it should be invigorating, or at least that's unless you have a job. If you have a job and you're forced to do something, then it is what it is. You have to roll with the punches. But if you can employ a fluid approach, then make sure you explore other options. Something else I told my friend was that one thing that happens, and the reason I can write so much, is because there's something that I call compound inspiration. Because the more I write, the more I see how much I enjoy it, the more I see the pieces, and the more I want to write. And this is not even coupling feedback into it, And I mean feedback, good or bad. I've had some phenomenal feedback the last few days from some friends, where they pointed out some things that, I did wrong, or I could have done differently in certain poems or in certain books. And I was like, wow, I never thought about that. And that's ongoing. But the whole point is that if I'm not open-minded about that, and if I'm not exploring it, then I can't be the best me. I can't be the best writer that I can. And that'll translate into writing, what you get out of it, how much inspiration you get, and what you can accomplish. It all fuses. It all stems from you, Yeah, it also stems from the exposure that you have to certain subjects, books, and whatever. But ultimately, you control your environment. That's why I'm very picky about what I read. I don't even watch TV. I mean, I haven't had TV in a while, like long time. But the whole point is that whatever show it is, whatever book it is, whatever poets, whatever, you name it, your exposure to that information will color your world, and you'll act according to whatever you have, which is the reason why I always try and make sure that my exposure to certain subjects is consistent. When I know that the subject's good for me, and if it's bad, then I'm very careful. For instance, one thing that I miss doing, because ever since moving a little bit ago, a while back, I don't watch horror flicks as much as I used to. I'm in Arizona a while back. My friend Josh and I used to explore this, and we used to have fun with all sorts of movies. He's the biggest movie buff I ever saw, So the whole point's that a genre like that, there's a lot of phenomenal movies, but there's also a lot of crap, just like every other genre, And I say that because I remember, seeing some of the older movies like Hellraisers, Hellraiser, It, Children of the Corn, you name it. I remember all those movies, and all of them are phenomenal. In fact, I miss movies like that. Modern movies, they're fun, and I've seen a couple, but when it comes to the horror flicks, they just don't get me. But then again, it's not just in horror when it comes to movies or writing that you're seeing kind of like a dwindling in substance. You're seeing it across the board, in movies, in books, in schooling, in music, in art, and this is not something that it's random. It happens cyclically through history, where you see, art, and, everything I just mentioned falls under that. You see it grow in its best way possible, and then eventually it starts slowly declining. I believe we're totally on a decline period, because it's kind of obvious all over the place. But that's just me. It's subjective. Could you make a case that it's getting better? I don't know. Maybe you could. If you could, then that's phenomenal. I mean, I'd be open to it. The whole point's that I'm very particular, because sometimes there's genres that I so enjoy, but I don't read them because I just don't find a lot of meaning and value, or substance to it. Even sci-fi. I love sci-fi, but I've had issues finding books that actually just really get me, something that I have no problem with going to over and over again. And it's not even because of what it is. It's the Star Trek short stories leather-bound book. And a lot of people will say, oh, well, you're saying it because of Star Trek. I was like, no, I don't. I could be subjective. There could be totally a book that's not Star Trek and the stories are phenomenal. To me, it doesn't matter. For instance, Serenity, the movie, it's a standalone movie that's not as known as it could be, and it's sci-fi, and I think it's absolutely phenomenal. It's not the usual stuff, and it'll appeal. I'm not saying it's one of the best movies ever. All I'm saying is that I can see a movie and appreciate it and detach my personal opinion, knowing, like, that's good. Like, just because it's not for me doesn't mean I can't see why other people can't enjoy it. Anyways, I'm getting so off on a tangent. The whole point is find out what makes you inspired. Stay there, stay the course, fuel yourself into it. Whatever keeps you focused and allows you to be the best writer, go for it. And don't be afraid to explore anything, but also don't be afraid to take a step back. There's nothing wrong with taking a step back, taking a short break, and the break could be something that's like literal as 15 minutes, 20 minutes, or like maybe a day or two longer. Like I literally just took 2 sizable breaks the last 4 or 6 weeks, and I'm about to take another one in 2 weeks. I already just took care of it. I have to, because I know that it's not so much that I need a break from the point of view of getting worn down, but I want to attain more clarity. And a lot of the times, the only way to do that is for you to completely detach yourself, from whatever it is that's bothering you or you have on your mind. It could be social media, it could be life, it could be work, it could be personal, you name it. But if you don't take a proactive approach into making sure you're at your optimal point, then who else is going to do it for you? Like, first and foremost, you're the one that has your back. And I'm not saying that friends don't have your back, because those that do, then they're fantastic. But everything that you do starts and resonates from you. So keep that in mind whenever you're tackling a project and you're trying to move forward. Right? You guys take care. Sorry for me, Silver Rolls. Bye.